Welcome back to the Hobby Homestead. I'm here at the Hobby Homestead Extension today, also known as my mom's place. She lives about 10 minutes down the road from me. So while I grow a lot of our food in suburbia, my mom has a rural space where we can do some extra things, like this no-dig, no-till potato trial. And I'm here this morning to get this garden task done, and then I'm going to head home and do a bunch of garden tasks at home. But I'll show you the no-dig trial here as we top up our potato plants with more straw. So the idea here behind the no-dig / no-till / roost-out potatoes, these are all different names for this method, is that you plant a seed potato on the ground, just on the dirt. You don't dig a hole and plant it, you don't bury it in dirt, you just put it on the ground and then you cover it with a mulch. We're using straw mulch here. It's probably the most common mulch to use for this method. You can also use like broken down wood chips, really any mulch that you would use on your garden. If it's organic and safe to use on food, then you can do this with. And as the potatoes start to sprout and grow, you add more mulch. So we added more straw. And this is a little bit hard to tell because there's actually a wood chip pathway in between that brings the ground level up more. So the potatoes are sort of down in a dip here because the wood chip pathway's here and the bare soil was lower. So we have at least 12 inches of straw mulch right now on top of those original seed potatoes. And as these potatoes grow taller, as the plants grow taller, we put more mulch on top of them, bringing it right up to just like, the top few leaves sticking out, and then they'll keep growing. And we're going to bring the straw level up to probably 2 feet tall by the time we're ready to stop adding mulch and just let them be. We got our straw from one of my mom's neighbors out here in the country. They have these huge square bales of straw. This is that big bale of straw that we've been using. And it is probably 2/3 gone at this point. We've used a lot of it already. Making me a little nervous actually that we might need more. But it's just been sitting out here in all the elements since I think March is when we picked it up. So it's starting to decompose already, which is actually fine. It makes it nice and easy to put on the potatoes and like stay put. It's not blowing away easily because it's kind of wet and breaking down. So it's pretty good for what we need it for. I break it apart at least a little bit to sprinkle it around the plants. And with every good rain we have, it just pats this down thicker and tighter around the plants. The challenge with this method is that you have to make sure your potatoes don't get exposed to sunlight. If your potatoes get exposed to sunlight, then they turn green and they are toxic to eat. So they are wasted. One flake left. That's what we have left here. I'm going to awkwardly leave this and see how long it takes to blow over. I just saw one more little patch. I find it. One more little area that could use just a little bit more straw. All right, that's done. Good thing too, because it's starting to get super duper hot again. While I'm here, I might as well give you a little update of what's going on in my mom's garden. So we've got the potatoes. She's got a sprout box bed here. That's for asparagus, but it was freshly planted asparagus. This is its first year, and she was short on space, so she decided to try to cram in some other things with the asparagus. I told her don't do that because asparagus doesn't like competition, but she's been gardening for longer than I have. And she went for it. So we'll see how her asparagus does in the coming years. Whew, I'm out of breath from all that work. And it's also really hot. Anyway, she can't not grow food, kind of like me. And so she uses the space that she has Got this great berry cage now. It's all closed in, so there's nothing getting in here. She's ahead of me on this one. My blueberries have no berries on them. And hers, just planted this year, high bush and the low bush, which makes me very jealous. See those low bush blueberries right in there? Oh, super jealous. She has about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blueberry plants in this spurt box raised bed right now, and they are all laden with berries. And it's their first year. I don't know how she does it with the berries. My blueberries suck. Oh, look, she's also got a bunch of broccoli. Looking good. See, when you're really tight on space, you can get creative. Look at that cabbage. Man, she's way ahead of me on the brassicas. Way ahead of me. So she's got her blueberries in here, which will be like the crop that stays in this sprout box bed. But until she gets more raised beds built, this is her bed for everything. So she's cramming stuff in, and it is working very well for her. Look at these cabbages. Really jealous. I have very, very, very tiny cabbage heads forming now, like just starting. And I've harvested one very tiny broccoli head. Don't even know if you can call it that. And there's another small broccoli head forming now. The brassicas are like hit and miss really with the weather. So they don't like extreme temperature swings and stuff. And I try to do a lot of succession planting of broccolis and cauliflowers and cabbages and stuff. Like start them every month or so from very early spring or late winter. All the way through till like now for fall garden. And that's because it's a crapshoot. If you start them on the right date and you catch the right weather patterns leading up to when they're ready, then they're great. If you start them on the slightly wrong date and the weather patterns aren't great for it, then you might not even get a head forming. So the more you can sow, the more frequently, the better chances you have of getting a nice head on your brassicas. Just building a little sunflower and bean cave here for the kids. This is the chicken coop she just got off Facebook Marketplace that is just needs a little bit of work to shore it up. I want to make sure the chickens don't get eaten, but it's pretty cute. I like it. And then back here, she's doing a Florida weave, sort of, on these tomatoes. Looking good so far. And then over this berm is the wetland. We'll just pop up there real quick to have a look at it, and then I'm going to go sit in the shade and talk to you more about potatoes before I go home. Still holding water fairly well, even though it's been just so hot. 28 today, 32 degrees Celsius tomorrow. That's like before Humidex. And it's holding onto its water really nicely. She's had lots of ducks on it, lots of geese, obviously. There's just so much wildlife returning to the area. She's got pictures of deer just in her yard, which is another reason to have things like a berry cage. Protect your plants. Protect your plants. All right, we're going to go sit in the shade and talk about potatoes for just a jiffy here before we go home. So I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I was inspired 10 years ago now to grow potatoes vertically, stacking wood slats up and filling with dirt. So you started with a seed potato in the bottom, and then you just like built up a box around them. You went higher and higher throughout the season. And the idea was then at the end of the season, you remove the sides off the box, and your potatoes are just like filling this whole big cube. And it was like, I don't know, 30 inches tall. And the idea was that the potatoes would keep growing more potatoes, more tubers off of the stem, the higher and higher you went. And I see this still replicated online sometimes, but you never see the finished product, I find. These reels and Pinterest posts and stuff, they're always just about, look how cool the construction is, that you can grow your potatoes upwards like this. And the thing that I learned from that experience is that not all potato varieties grow the same. Go figure. There are some that are more indeterminate that will keep producing more tubers along their stems. And then there are others that are determinate types that just will put on a small cluster of potatoes right at the base, right at the soil level. And the reason that you're hilling those up, oh my God, I am so dirty. Can you see this? The main reason you hill them up is because you don't want any sunlight to get to those potatoes. You need them nice and buried so that they don't turn green from the sunlight. So I was super disappointed at the end of that experiment. I had Kim build me this cool bed that we could like remove the slats off the sides for harvest time. And the only potatoes were way at the bottom near the ground. And so that's when I started doing more research on potato varieties. And a lot of the potatoes that you would buy, seed potatoes that you'd buy to grow in your garden, are things like early potatoes, ones that are meant to just put on a flush of tubers right around the main root level. And I'm pretty sure that's what all of these potatoes are that I have planted back here at my mom's place. And the reason that we are topping them up with so much straw is to keep them way down in the dark. And so it really doesn't take that much mulch. We're talking about a maximum of 2 feet of straw piled up. So we have 60 feet plus, maybe, linear feet of potatoes over there. And so it's still quite a bit of straw. We went through one big square bale, like the large square bales of straw. That straw cost us $75. But it's cheaper than a good load of soil, way cheaper. And it will slowly over time help that soil become nice and loamy and fluffy. And I also found, I really wanted to get it on camera, but it jumped away. The toads are loving the straw. The toads are all up in there amongst the potatoes. The toads are not going to bother the potatoes that are growing. It's just cute. It's like, a nice little shelter for them in there. They like it. It's moist. It's warm. That's the other nice thing about using straw, is that as it decomposes, it heats up. Those potato rows are hot. Like even when we had a really cool spring, it was really warm in the potato rows. What else can I tell you about those potatoes? So we planted them. We set the seed potatoes down May 18th. And it is now the beginning of July, early July. This is the last top up of straw that we're going to do. Mostly because we're out of straw, but also because the potatoes are flowering. They're not going to be doing a lot more growth underground at this point. I just want to make sure that there's no gaps in the straw where sunlight can get through to those tubers underground. So that's it. We're done. We just wait for harvest now. I'm actually going to need to go look at all these varieties we have. We have 3 different varieties, and I forget how long each of them is supposed to take before they're ready to harvest. But I'm anticipating it'll be like the end of August. The fact that they're flowering now is surprising to me. Like, they started to grow really fast, considering it was the end of May when we planted them. So anyway, they're going to grow a little bit more here, and we'll be harvesting later on in the summer, maybe early fall, depending on the varieties we have planted. I have to go look them up again. If you haven't seen me around these potatoes yet on any of my videos or in Instagram, I'll link a video in the description below and put it in the little cards here where I planted it. So you can go check that out if you want more information on the background, planting these, how we prepare the earth for them. But if you don't feel like going to watch that, I'll just let you know that this is actually a funded trial. It's a farmer-led research trial by the Ecological Farmers Association of Ontario. They give a small stipend just to make it possible to, get the things like the straw and the seed potatoes, and to support farmers in doing a little bit more of the measurement work. So, I weighed all of those seed potatoes that I put in. I took counts of everything, and I'm going to weigh them all when I harvest. Not only weigh, but take notes on marketability of the potatoes and things like that. So it's a really cool trial, because at the end of the day, we get potatoes. We're going to keep as many as we can just to eat, because we are homesteaders, not farmers. And then the excess we plan to donate to the food bank. I know some food banks are a little bit more finicky with that, where you have to be like a registered food business or something to be able to donate produce. But my mom has been able to donate excess from her garden before, so we're going to do that this year with excess potatoes. Because I think 60 plus linear feet of potatoes might just be too much for us to store and keep good in our not sufficient cold room all winter long. All right, I have to skedaddle. I actually left. I'm leaving my daughter here. She's having a grandma play date day, which is going to be awesome. And then my son is going to come over here for a sleepover tonight, got to be fair. So I'm going to let them just play and have a great time, swim in the pool, explore the wildlife around the wetlands, take a walk in the forest, all the fun things that you can do at Grandma's farm. And I have to head home. I'm actually jumping on a call with 2 of my content creator friends, Bree and Sarah. I'm going to link them in the description below as well. We're kind of on this journey together where we're building ourselves up as content creators and as gardening consultants. And we have these calls every now and then just to check in. If you are a content creator, or if you are getting into any self-employment industry, I encourage you to find somebody who's doing the same kind of thing and reach out and try to have a support group, because it really helps. But I don't want to be late for that call. So I'm going to wrap things up here, say bye to everybody, and head home. I'll see you in a bit. So I went home, I got myself all cleaned up, I showered the grime off of me. Then I came back to my mom's place because I had to drop off the second kid. They're having a great time swimming in the pool. I'm picking up this so that maybe we can spend date night tonight, Kim and I, building another raised bed. That is the old metal from our old above ground pool. We've been storing it here in her shed. Let's see if I can haul this giant, heavy ass thing up into my car. We need a truck. I did it. Muscles.